Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lam Hossein from Group 3. Today, I would like to talk about the economic dimension of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. First, I will talk about the pros of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. Then, the cons of the project will be discussed. To start with, the first pros of the project is the low operating cost of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. Nuclear energy is one of the most cost-effective energy. According to the charts, the cost to produce electricity from nuclear energy is a lot lower than the cost to produce energy from other materials such as gas, coal, or oil. Uranium, which is the fuel of the nuclear energy, has to be processed before used. However, after counting all of the process costs of uranium, the total fuel cost of the nuclear power plants is just about one-third of the fuel cost for a coal-fired plant and about a quarter of those for a gas combined cycle plant. Therefore, the low production cost of uranium will lead to the low operating cost of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. Other than the low production cost of fuel, a stable fuel price also leads to a low operating cost of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. Due to the scarcity and high demand of the traditional fossil fuel, the price of the fossil fuel will have a regular fluctuation. However, the costs of uranium are relatively more stable than other fossil fuel. Therefore, nuclear energy and the Daya Bay nuclear power plants have a low risk for cost inflation of the fuel, and it will also lower the operating cost of the project. Second, the sustainability of the nuclear energy is also one of the advantages of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. As mentioned, uranium is the fuel of nuclear energy. Similar to traditional fossil fuel, it is limited in supply. However, as the demand of electricity keeps rising nowadays, we are constantly consuming our limited fossil fuel reserves. Therefore, according to the recent data, we estimated that we will run out of oil by 2052, gas in 2060, and coal by 2088. But how about uranium? The uranium reserves are estimated to last another 130 years, whereas the traditional fossil fuel have a much more limited lifespan. Therefore, the sustainability of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants is higher than other kinds of power plants. After talking about the benefits of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants, I would like to talk about the drawbacks of the project. One of the cons of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants is the high capital cost. As shown on the table, the capital cost of nuclear power is higher than the other power. The capital cost of this project include the cost of site preparation, construction, manufacture, commissioning, and financing a nuclear power plant. The project area of the Daya Bay nuclear power plant is 10 km square. In order to build such a large-scale nuclear reactor, it took thousands of workers, huge amounts of steel and concrete, thousands of components, and several systems to provide electricity, cooling, ventilation, information, control, and communication. Other than the cost of building a power plant, nuclear plants must also allocate funds to the waste control. All of these expenses will higher the cost of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. As a result, it took $4.6 billion to build the Daya Bay nuclear power plant, which is very high in capital cost. Moreover, The high implicit cost of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants is also one of the advantages. The implicit cost of the power plants will be the cost it needs to deal with a serious accident. As shown in the chart, the cost of a nuclear accident is really high. It took Japan $260 billion for the accidents happened in 2011. Since the cost for compensation will be large, which probably exceed the insurance limits, the government will be responsible for part of the recovery cost. Those amounts of compensation that the government take over might probably affect the financial status of the community. Although nuclear energy is considered as a stable and safe energy, we cannot neglect any possibilities of accidents happen in the Daya Bay nuclear power plants. This is all of the advantages and disadvantages of the Daya Bay nuclear power plants, and this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.